General Motors, one of the world's largest car makers, is quietly shifting its attention away from the United States. Last year, the company sold about 2.1 million cars in China, almost the same as in America. But there's a crucial difference. US sales are slipping, while China is where GM sees growth and profit. And that shift should raise concern because it leaves thousands of American workers vulnerable. Earlier this year, GM's CEO met with Donald Trump to discuss the impact of tariffs. At that time, the message was frustration. Now, it feels more like resignation. And GM isn't alone. In 2025, Ford cut thousands of jobs. Tesla has been moving more operations to Mexico and Europe. Across the country, factories are under pressure. Material costs remain high. Tariffs from the trade war add another layer of expense, and companies are beginning to calculate that producing outside America might simply be easier and cheaper. If GM follows that path more aggressively, tens of thousands of US jobs could vanish almost overnight. Imagine what that means for cities and towns built around auto plants. Detroit, Ohio, Texas, places where entire communities depend on factory paychecks. If those jobs disappear, families lose stability, local economies unravel, and the nation's role in global manufacturing weakens. For years, Americans were promised a revival. Factories would reopen, jobs would return, and the industrial heartland would rise again. But on the ground today, the story looks very different. Layoffs are mounting, plants are closing, and companies are making choices that move them further away from home. So the question now is simple but urgent. How much longer can the US hold on to its biggest industries before they leave for good? And if they go, what are the chances they ever come back? The promises of revival are colliding with a harsher reality, one that shows the American auto industry isn't being rebuilt, but slowly dismantled. Stay with me, because what comes next reveals just how deep this crisis runs.
Jobs and factories will come roaring back into our country.
Donald Trump once promised that he would breathe new life into the American auto industry. He called it a revival, a rebirth, a second chance. For millions of workers, that message resonated deeply. Generations had built their livelihoods in factories, and many believed those days could return. The industry, worth more than $1.1 trillion and supporting millions of jobs across the country, seemed like the perfect symbol for America's comeback. But today, instead of revival, the sector is unraveling in plain sight. The cracks become clear when you look at policy. One of the most damaging moves was the removal of subsidies for electric vehicles. These weren't luxury perks. They were the foundation that kept US automakers in the EV race. Without them, domestic companies are left to fight uphill against foreign rivals that enjoy far stronger support. Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill made the cut official. Federal tax credits of $7,500 for new EVs and $4,000 for used ones will end after September 30th. 2025 buyers who wait beyond that date lose those benefits entirely. Incentives for home EV chargers are also being phased out, set to expire in June 2026. And on top of that, regulatory credits that Tesla and others used to sell to competitors, a critical revenue stream, are disappearing. Meanwhile, China has doubled down. Instead of pulling support, Beijing has expanded it, blending subsidies, low-cost financing, and direct state involvement. This isn't about short-term boosts. It's a long-term national strategy. Since 2009, China has invested more than $230 billion into building an EV ecosystem, from tax breaks to infrastructure. The results speak for themselves. In 2024, nearly half of all cars sold in China, 47.2%, were EVs or plug-in hybrids. Over 6.6 million of those purchases were backed by government incentives worth up to $2,800 each, and the program was extended into 2025. Automakers benefit directly too. BYD alone received $3.7 billion in support by 2022. Tesla's Shanghai factory secured $426 million, and government production subsidies for nearly 50 EV makers added another $5.4 billion. Major state banks are also stepping in. Xpeng locked in a $1.4 billion credit line from CITIC Bank this August. China's strategy doesn't stop at cars. Infrastructure is treated as a priority. KATL, the country's battery giant, is rolling out 1,000 battery swap stations by 2025, with a goal of 10,000 by 2028, all with government backing. Now compare the two approaches. In the US, subsidies are being cut and tariffs are raising costs. In China, the government is building a safety net that stretches from the buyer to the manufacturer to the supply chain itself. The contrast couldn't be sharper, and it leaves American automakers struggling to compete in the very market that will define the future of transportation. Because that future won't be powered by gas engines, it will be electric. And instead of strengthening the one lifeline that could have kept US automakers competitive, Washington chose to cut it off. Think about how much US automakers had already committed to the future. Ford, GM, Tesla, and others invested billions of dollars into research, new production plants, and entire lineups of electric vehicles. They knew the industry was changing and tried to position themselves ahead of the curve. Supply chain shortages, rising costs, and foreign competition were already obstacles, but they kept building, believing the investment would pay off. Then came the policy shift. When federal subsidies disappeared, American EV makers were left exposed, while their Chinese rivals kept enjoying government support. It was like asking US automakers to run the same race, but without the resources to keep pace. The pressure didn't stop there. Trump's tariffs struck at the very foundation of car making, the global supply chain. Every vehicle depends on a vast web of imported parts, steel, batteries, chips, and components from across the world. By taxing those imports, tariffs raised the cost of building cars in America. Instead of boosting competitiveness, they made US cars more expensive at home and less appealing abroad. This put automakers in a no-win situation. Either pass the added costs to consumers, already stretched by high car prices, or absorb them internally. Most chose the second option, fearing that even a small price hike could drive buyers away. A few $1,000s added to a new car can make the difference between a sale and an empty showroom. But the losses add up quickly. If tariffs raise production costs by $2,000 per car and a company sells hundreds of thousands of vehicles, that's billions drained straight from profits. Industry analysts estimate that the largest US automakers, GM, Ford, Stellantis, are already facing about $11.7 billion in added costs. And this comes on top of the heavy spending they've committed to electric vehicle development. For the average family, the impact is hidden because car prices haven't skyrocketed as much as they could have. But inside boardrooms and factory floors, the damage is obvious. Money that should be going into innovation and new technologies is being burned away to cover tariff losses. It's a slow bleed, and the longer it continues, the harder it becomes for US companies to stay competitive against foreign automakers that are growing stronger. And no company illustrates this better than General Motors. Already under pressure from falling sales and rising labor costs, GM is now forced to navigate shrinking profits at home while watching its operations in China expand. The question is no longer whether the tariffs hurt. It's whether GM can withstand the squeeze long enough to survive. General Motors has been hit harder than most. Even before 2025, the company was showing signs of strain. Falling sales, higher labor costs, and massive spending on electric vehicles that still weren't turning a profit. By this year, the pressure only intensified. With subsidies gone, GM was forced to scale back parts of its EV strategy. Tariffs drove up the cost of components and raw materials. And on top of that, consumer demand inside the US weakened as buyers hesitated to pay higher prices. The financial impact has been brutal. In the second quarter alone, GM's profit collapsed by 35%. Instead of bringing in nearly $3 billion, earnings fell to $1.9 billion. A $1.1 billion tariff hit was one of the biggest drivers of that drop. Money wiped away by trade policy rather than by consumer choice. On paper, GM still looks steady. It beat analyst expectations on revenue, reporting about $47 billion, and the company insists it can stick to its full-year forecast. But the numbers hide the deeper story. Imports from Mexico, Canada, and South Korea, essential for GM's supply chain, are now weighed down by tariffs. Executives admit most of those costs can't be offset. They've promised $4 billion in new investment for U.S. plants and are trying to absorb about 30% of the tariff burden through efficiency gains and cost cuts. Yet their own warning is clear. The real financial pain will arrive in the second half of 2025. And GM isn't the only one bleeding. Stellantis, the maker of Jeep and Ram, reported losses of $2.7 billion in just the first half of the year, showing how tariffs are squeezing the entire auto sector. For GM, the dilemma is sharper than ever. Do they keep absorbing losses in the U.S., or do they double down on markets where growth is real? That's where China enters the story. For GM, the Chinese market isn't just another option. It's the anchor of their global strategy. Some years, they've sold more vehicles there than in the United States. And while Washington cuts support, Beijing provides stability, subsidies, and long-term incentives. The difference is striking. In the second quarter, GM delivered around 447,000 vehicles in China, the strongest growth they've reported there in years. New energy vehicles surged, offsetting weak margins in North America. For the company's board, China has evolved from being an opportunity into a lifeline. This contrast creates a hard strategic question. In the U.S., GM is defending legacy plants at steep cost. In China, they see a growth engine supported by policy and consumer demand. For shareholders focused on returns, the safer bet may not be at home. The company's recent moves hint at this shift. In mid-2025, GM quietly stopped exporting cars from the U.S. to China altogether. A symbolic but telling decision that U.S. production could no longer serve its most important foreign market. Instead, trade flows and production planning are being reoriented toward places with fewer barriers. And the consequences are already visible on the ground. GM temporarily laid off about 200 workers at its Factory Zero plant in Detroit, while suppliers began reporting lost contracts and plant closures. These aren't abstract warnings. They're real layoffs, official notices filed with local authorities, and empty paychecks for families who relied on them. When a factory slows, the damage doesn't stop at the gate. Restaurants, shops, schools, entire communities built around those jobs feel the shock. The ripple effect spreads until towns face the unthinkable choice: keep waiting for the jobs to return, or start preparing for the day they don't. But the challenges don't stop with tariffs or shrinking profits. They go deeper, right into the raw materials that make electric vehicles possible. In April 2025, Beijing imposed export curbs on certain rare earths and high-performance magnets. Overnight, what looked like a supply chain issue turned into a strategic vulnerability. These aren't just any materials. They're the building blocks of modern EVs. Motors, batteries, entire production lines depend on them. And because China controls most of the processing and sets the quotas, a decision in Beijing can ripple across the globe. The risk is clear. If China tightens the flow, American factories could slow or even grind to a halt. For companies like General Motors, the lesson is sobering. Competitive pricing and efficiency mean little if access to critical resources can be switched off at will. It forces a difficult question. Is it safer to keep the bulk of production in the U.S., where supply is vulnerable, or to shift more operations to places where access to these materials is more secure? And this isn't just about GM. The stakes stretch far beyond one company's bottom line. If America loses control over its own industrial future, the impact will cascade outward. Entire regions dependent on auto plants could see mass layoffs. Supply chains that feed hundreds of smaller businesses would collapse. Communities built around factories for generations could hollow out. And when that happens, the political fallout is inevitable. Leaders in Washington will face hard questions about how an industry once seen as America's backbone slipped into crisis. So the real concern is no longer just about jobs or profits. It's about resilience. Is U.S. policy prepared for a world where China can dictate the terms of access to vital materials? Or is the country edging toward an industrial collapse without even realizing it? This story is still unfolding, and the decisions made in the coming months will shape not just the future of GM, but the future of America's place in global manufacturing. To stay informed as this crisis develops, make sure you're subscribed. You won't want to miss what happens next.